Now we are going to start another concept which is called probability and joint probability. So it is also called expected values. I will directly start from the joint probability because it is tricky and it is lengthy. We assume that there are 2 years. In year 1, it is expected that cash flow will be 500,000. Its probability is 0.2. Cash flow will be 600,000. Its probability is zero point 0.7. Cash flow will be 400,000. Its probability is zero point 0.1. For year 2, if cash flow is 600,000, its probability is zero point 0.3. If cash flow is 750,000, its probability is suppose 0.5. If cash flows are 850,000, so its probability is 0.2. When there are 2 years and they have three different probabilities, it means we will calculate 9 possible outcomes. 9 possible outcomes, how? 3 into 3. Here we have 3, here we have 3, so the 9 possible outcomes. And it requires at least 7 or at max 8 columns. Suppose if I follow Excel over here, I will write present value of of year 1, then probability, present value of year 2, then probability, then total cash flows, then joint probability, expected value of total cash flow. Next one is net present value. First one is 500,000. Now we are assuming here that discount rate is same 10%. So it is multiplied by 0.909. Same 500,000 into 0.909. Sorry, 500,000. Because we are required to calculate 9 workings. 500,000 into 0.909. Then 600,000, next 3 workings. Into 0.909, 600,000 into 0.909, 600,000 into 0.909. Then we have 400,000 into 0.909. Then we have 400,000 into 0.909. Then we have 400,000. So we are done with 9 values. Probability 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.7, 0.7, 0.7, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. $600,000 into 0.826. Now it is year 2. Now for year 2, we will take all these three cash flows in relation with the first cash flow of year 1, because we are calculating 9 possible outcomes. So 750,000 into 0.826, then 850,000 into 0.826. Now you will write down the probability over here. 0.3, next 0.5, next 0.2. Remember one thing, probability cannot exceed 100% or 1. Here we have what? 0.3, 0.5, 0.2. Once again 0.3, 0.5, 0.2. Now total cash flows. This plus this. This is the total cash flow. So if I copy and paste this formula over here. Now we will calculate joint probability. 0.2 multiplied by this, then I am going to copy and paste this formula. Here we have joint probability. Now what is the expected value of total cash flows is equal to total cash flow multiplied by joint probability. So I am going to copy this formula from over here and pasting here. Now how to calculate net present value? Suppose net present value is expected value of this cash flow minus, suppose our initial investment is $100,000. This minus $100,000. This minus $100,000. This value minus same. This value minus same. This value minus 100,000. this value minus 100,000, and lastly this value minus 100,000. Now question says that calculate expected mean NPV. How to calculate expected mean NPV? First add all these values. Minus what? Minus initial investment of 100,000. So here this plus this. This is the expected mean NPV. Now, what could be the next? Question says, suppose question asks you to calculate and question can ask you to calculate. What? Question can ask you to calculate what is the negative NPV probability. So you will see here you have negative and the joint probability is 0.06. Here negative 0.04. Then here negative 0.03. Then here negative 0.05. Here negative 0.02. So add all these values. 0.06, 0.04, 0.03 plus 0.05 plus 0.02. So it will be, I think, in total 0.2. But I would use calculator to confirm. Yes, it is 0.2. 0.2 means what? 20% probability is there will be negative NPV. If out of 100 there is a 20% probability that NPV will be negative, it means positive NPV probability is what? 100% minus 20%, 80%. So either this project is financially viable. Yes, it is financially viable because there are 80% chances that this project will be in profit. Yet it is financially viable. Second, another thing question can ask you to calculate what is the most likely outcome. Most likely means highest value of joint probability. And this is the highest value of joint probability 0.35. So it is most likely NPV. And what is the NPV here? Here NPV is 30775. So 307715 is most likely NPV at what? At 0.35 joint probabilities. So these are the questions that can be asked by the examiner in exams from the joint probability. Then we have one more concept. It is called what? It is called simulation. Simulation technique is basically the one which used number of variables at one point of time in the computer software along with the possible outcomes or probabilities to determine where net present value will be zero. It is basically opposite to sensitivity analysis. Sensitivity analysis is the one which is used to calculate NPV at zero, but when there will be change in one variable. For example, if there will be change in selling price, we determine the sensitivity analysis. What would be the change in variable cost which can lead to zero? What would be the change in fixed cost which can lead to zero? Or what would be the change in discount rate which is called IRR which can lead to zero NPV? Sensitivity calculates each and every variable separately and then determines where NPV can be zero. But simulation analysis or simulation technique, it combines all the variables in a computer program along with its possible outcomes and probabilities to determine where net present value will be zero. In F9, you are not expected to perform workings under simulation analysis. You are only required to do what? Required to memorize its definition if it is asked by the examiner in MCQs or in section C, you are only expected to write down this definition. Next one is adjusted payback period. It is also part of risk and uncertainty. Adjusted payback period is also called discounted payback period. We discussed this adjusted or discounted payback period in the last class where we are using what? We are using present value of cash flows to calculate the net present value. So this is called what? This is called adjusted payback period, or alternatively we call it discounted payback period. So this whole was risk and uncertainty in this capital budgeting. I will share these videos along with the question videos. If you have any questions, you can ask in the group.